everyone. This lecture is about granulomatous reactions. And what is granulomatous reactions? Through these reactions, granuloma is formed. So, before I talk about what granulomatous reactions are, we should know what granuloma is. So, granuloma is a structure formed during inflammation that is found in many diseases. I mean, after many diseases, due to the cellular response, inflammation occurs, and this inflammation can lead to formation of granuloma. Okay, and we can say that granuloma is a collection of immune cells known as macrophages. Okay, and they are collected focally. So focal collections of inflammatory and connective tissue cells in tissue, including macrophages, histocytes, fibroblasts, epithelioid cells, and giant cells, as well as lymphocyte and plasma cells arranged in a round oval laminated structure. And these structures are identified or called granulomas. And granulomas form when the immune system attempts to wall off substances it perceives as foreign, but is unable to eliminate. Okay, which means whenever anything enter in our body, it can be infectious disease or it can be it can be a non-infectious like things. A non-biological foreign substance. So whenever or sometimes some infection in our body, okay, can cause the production of some antigen immune complexes. So whatever happen, in any case, either suppose our body get infected by a foreign micropathogens or a foreign non-biological things entered in our body try to clear it, neutralize it through immune responses. Okay, and this kind of immune responses can lead to formation of granulomas. Okay, because the immune cells of our immune system that they try to surround these foreign particles. Okay, they try to build a wall around these foreign particles, which can eventually result into formation of granuloma. Okay, and such substances, against which the granuloma can form, include infectious organisms, including bacteria and fungi, as well as other materials such as foreign objects, keratin and structure, and suture fragments, etc. Okay, and there are two types of granulomas, and these differ in their pathogenesis. One, foreign body granulomas, and then immune granulomas. So, what is foreign body granulomas? Foreign body granulomas are elicited by relatively inert foreign materials such as talc, starch, silicon, or fat, etc. Okay, and lipo and mineral oil granulomas also are among foreign body granulomas. So now, what is immune granulomas? Immune granulomas form in the context of a cell-mediated immune response elicited by insoluble antigens, typically microbes. Okay. So now we understand. We learned what granuloma is. Now let's see what granulomatous reactions are. Okay. These are cellular responses such as chronic inflammation to irritating, persistent, and poorly soluble substances, which ultimately leads to the development of granulomas, are called granulomatous reactions. So that means granulomatous reactions refers to those cellular responses, okay, which elicitate against the irritating, persistent, and poorly soluble substances. Okay. So, and this granulomatous reaction are characteristically initiated by sensitized lymphocytes reacting with antigen. However, this reaction may uh, also initiated by poorly catabolizable antigen antibody complexes that persist locally. Okay, and this antibody antigen complexes may provide a stimulus for granuloma formation if the complex is insoluble, soluble. and relatively indigestible. I mean, if our body fails to digest the antibody antigen complex, then granuloma can form. Okay, and granulomatous hypersensitivity reactions may evolve over weeks or even months, owing to the nature of the stimulus. Okay, I mean it can take only a few weeks or even several months to form a granuloma. Now, development of granuloma. I mean, how granuloma formation occurs or how the granuloma develops in our body. Okay, so at the beginning, uh, it should be stimulated. Okay, there are some factors which can initiate the formation of granuloma. Okay, and this initiation can be done by immune response or without immune response. Okay, so in case of granulomas formed due to immune responses who are responsible, sensitized lymphocytes reacting with antigen, poorly insoluble and relatively indigestible antigen antibody complexes that persist locally. Okay, so this can initiate, I mean, these immune responses they can initiate granuloma formations. Okay, uh, granulomas can also develop without immune responses. Okay, by non-biological particles. Okay, usually. Okay. Oh, okay. So now let's talk about the development process of granuloma. Okay. Both humoral and cell-mediated immune response can initiate granulomatous reactions. Okay. The humoral antibodies against insoluble antigens. For example, some microbacterial antigens which are insoluble. Okay, that means our body cannot digest them. So antibodies, the humoral antibodies which act against these insoluble antigens can lead to formation of insoluble immune complexes, and this insoluble immune complexes activate complement system, and then activation of complement systems attract and activate macrophages. Then previously sensitized lymphocytes also react with these insoluble antigens, releasing lymphokines that attracts and activate macrophages. So now these activated macrophages, okay, if they are unable to digest or exocytose the poorly degradable antigens, the cytoplasmic foreign materials take on the appearance of cytokeratin and give the cell an epithelial cell-like appearance. Okay, I mean, what is the role of macrophage? Macrophage wants to clear these antigens. Okay, so how they do this? By digesting them, by exocytosis. However, if these activated macrophages fail to do their job, I mean, fail to exocytose or digest these poorly degradable antigens. Okay, so then they can just accumulate, they can surround that insoluble antigens and the cell. Okay, and the cell become epithelioid. Okay, and this is called actually, I mean, that's why the cell give an epithelial like appearance. Okay, and these differentiated forms of macrophages are called epithelioid cells. Okay, and due to their similarities to that of epithelial cells, I mean, macrophages are not epithelial cells. Okay, they are not epithelial cells, but because of this kind of things, ultimately the macrophages they transformed into different kind of cells. This is called actually differentiation. I mean, when a cell they change into different cell, this is called differentiation. Okay, so that means due to this, I mean, due to this kind of reactions, the macrophages they turned into epithelioid cells. Okay, and from the fusion of macrophages and epithelioid cells, multinuclear giant cells develop. Basically, this is the mechanism or the events that happens during granuloma formation. Okay, so if we can visualize this uh, uh, events or in a cartoon way, I mean, this figure it shows the events, step by step events that occurs during granuloma formation. such as, I mean, and we already know that granuloma can be granuloma formation can be mediated by both humoral and cell-mediated immune response. So, in case of humoral immune response, the humoral antibody are there. Okay, they react against the insoluble antigen. Okay, and the antibody antigen complex is formed. They activate the complement system. Eventually, this activated complement system, they attract and activate the macrophages. Okay, this is the way, in this way, the macrophage get activated by the humoral antibody. But macrophage can also get activated by cell-mediated response activities, right? Such as there are sensitized lymphocytes, okay, which can there are sensitized uh, lymphocytes, okay, they can react with the insoluble antigen and form a complex, and this complex can release some lymphokines which will attract and activate the macrophage. Okay, okay. So until this, the macrophage can get activated by two different ways. But after that, the process is same. Either the humoral antibody or the cell-mediated immune response initiated the or caused the macrophage activation. Once the macrophage is activated, the later processes are same. Okay, so once the macrophages are activated, they try to digest these complexes. Okay, so and we know that the macrophages do this by endocytosis. Okay, so first they engulf the materials and then digest it and then release it. Okay, but if macrophages fail to do that, okay, they begin to accumulate in that places. Okay, and eventually the some macrophages they transformed into epithelioid cells, and these cells like the macrophages, epithelioid cells, and also other participants of the immune response, eventually they can turn into this kind of multinuclear giant cell. Okay, and this is called granulomas. Okay, and actually, granulomas can for as I just said, granulomas can be developed against various. Granulomas can develop due to various different reasons, such as, for example, due to infectious disease, non-infectious disease, foreign particles, immunodeficient disease, etc. Okay. Okay. Now there are some factors that modulate granuloma formation. Okay, and these factors can be derived from different immune cells, such as there are some factors which are derived from the T cell. We call them T cell factors. Okay, the T cell factors that modulate granuloma formations are interleukin 4, interferon gamma, interferon beta. So and these factors they perform different works, such as the interleukin 4, they cause aggregation and fusion of macrophages. The interferon gamma, they cause inhibition of macrophage migration and fusion of monocytes. And interferon beta, they cause local organization of granuloma. Okay, so other than the T cell, macrophage also derives some factors. Okay, and those factors include interleukin 1 and interferon and TNF alpha, T1 necrosis factor alpha. Okay, and these factors they can stimulate fibrosis and scarring. Okay, well, sorry, this TNF means tumor necrosis factor. Okay, it's actually a protein. Okay, so now the progression of granuloma. Okay, so after the granuloma initiated, granuloma forms, and then the progress. So how it progress? So first, granulomas begin as a small collection of lymphocytes and macrophages that form around poorly degradable antigens. Okay, and then the macrophages change to epithelioid cells and become organized into a cluster of cells. Okay, so until this, the granuloma is formed. Okay, then further progression can occur, and if further progression occurs, it results in ball-like clusters of cells and fusion of macrophages into giant cells. Okay, and further progression is also possible. So, and the further progression will the further progression will result in the ultimate fate of the granuloma. Okay, so what those further progression can be? Those include development of necrosis in the center as characterized of chronic tuberculosis, or continued enlargement and replacement of normal tissue. This can cause progressive disease. The size of the granuloma will increase with time, or fibrosis with scar formation characteristics of healed sarcoidosis. Okay, so these were the description. But if you look at this photo, it shows the same thing that I told here. Okay, these steps, it depicts the same thing here. Okay, so I suggest, when you will read this, please match them with the photos. Okay, you will find the descriptions here. The same description is actually written here. Okay, the same description here. You can see number one. Okay, number two, number two. Okay, so this same description and these descriptions are the same. Okay, so that was all about the granulomatous reaction. Thank you.